Today I am answering one of your questions about using white gesso versus titanium white. Hi, I'm Lisa, the artist behind Lachri Fine Art. Craig Forner writes, hello, my question is this. When using white to do highlights or blending, do you recommend using white gesso or titanium white? I am a decoy duck carver, and I do decorative decoys and detailed paint. I was always told to use the white gesso. I just find that it's kind of chalky. I do use the Liquitex heavy body acrylics, and I wanted to say to watch you paint is truly inspiring, and you are a fantastic artist, and I can't thank you enough for all that you share. Thank you so much. For gesso, gesso's really only intended as your base layer. If you need something to seal the wood before you start painting with your acrylics, yeah, put the gesso down first. For canvases, if you're working on a canvas that is not primed, then you would put a coat of gesso, and this is going to keep your acrylics from just soaking into that canvas. It works as a sort of barrier. It also adds more tooth to that surface. I personally only use gesso when I have a canvas because all the canvases I use, the Fredericks, they're all already primed that I buy. But sometimes I'll just find a really good deal on one that has more tooth than what I actually like. So what I do is put some gesso on it, a couple of coats of that, and then I will sand it down to a smoother finish so I have that smooth surface that I'm looking for. Other than that, I don't use gesso. Gesso is not a mixing medium. It's not intended to be used as a paint. It's going to add more tooth, more texture to the painting. So let's say you're working on a painting and you need white paint. You grab gesso instead. Anywhere you added that white is going to have more tooth. It's not going to be smooth like everywhere where you're using your heavy bodied paints. And your Liquitex heavy body are especially smooth and slick and shiny, and it's going to be so obvious where you've used gesso versus where you've used your titanium white. Now, if your titanium white is not opaque enough, this is the only thing I could think maybe why somebody would tell you to use gesso instead. If the titanium white is not opaque enough, do a couple layers, let it dry, and add another layer on top of it, and that will give you more opacity while still keeping the slickness and the shine of the paint the same as the rest of your painting. If I use gesso in any part of one of my paintings instead of using actual white paint, my end result would be a hot mess of texture, smooth textured, which would make it really hard to blend. It would make it really hard to add detail on top of that when I come back through with the liner brush. Definitely something I don't recommend. I actually several years ago made the mistake. I have a clear gesso here that I love for painting on wood surfaces so that it lets the wood grain show through for certain techniques. Well, I accidentally grabbed that instead of matte medium one day when I was doing a certain technique with hard edge. The area, I didn't realize it till I went to paint over it, and it was like, why is this so rough? Why is the paint so bumpy? It looked absolutely terrible where that extra tooth was versus the smooth next to it. I ended up having to sand it down and repaint it. It was just not fun. It was not a good experience. Definitely not a look that I enjoy. And I've also heard of artists who will use the gesso to try to extend the dry time of the paint. Gesso's not a mixing medium. It's not intended for that. I don't think that it would even extend it any longer than just adding water to your acrylic paint would. So again, going back to with gesso, the only thing that I would recommend using it for is for priming your work, which is what it's intended for. I have a frequently asked questions page over on my website. If you cannot find the answer to your question there is a section where you can submit your own question to be featured in one of these videos. I'll have a card pop up here so you can check that out. Thanks for watching. If you're new to my channel, I have new video critiques every Tuesday where I'm critiquing your original paintings or drawings, my own speed paintings, drawings, and tutorials every Wednesday, art Q&A videos every Thursday, and artist vlogs every Saturday. So if you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. And you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+. All of those social media sites are linked below in the video description where you can keep up with news, my newest work, and see real-time clips of whatever it is I'm currently working on. I'll see you guys in a few days.